Welcome to our podcast, Doing It Right. This podcast reveals authentic stories from successful leaders doing it right. It's about their journey to become a leader, their choices, motivations, and lessons. In essence, how they built successful personal brands. Your host is Valerie Sokolosky, author of 8 leadership books and nationally known as an authority on executive presence and personal branding. Let's get started. Here's Valerie.
Well, first of all, welcome. And I want you to know that today I am wearing an outfit from this fabulous European boutique called Betty Ryder. It's got a red door on the front of the boutique, and it's located at the Plaza at Preston Center. So should you need something really special with yummy fabrics, go and see my friend Betty Ryder. And now I want to introduce the guest that I have with me today. You know, there's nothing more important than our eyesight, right? I remember a time that I was having something got in my eye, and I was in the shower, and I couldn't read the shampoo and the conditioner. I put the conditioner on first, and even then I thought, oh my goodness, how blessed to have sight. Well, the gentleman who gave me 20/20 vision again after years of not having it is my guest today, Dr. Chip Fagadau.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to have so much fun today just talking about, yes, some of the technical things about eyes and what the new things are, but I also want to get into just what about you as a doctor and how you came to be so. Is that okay with you?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. Well, let me start there. And for the audience, I would like to share your credentials because I know how important that is in the medical industry. So Dr. Fagadau went to school in Dallas at St. Mark's, and then undergraduate at Yale University School of Medicine, doctorate at Texas Southwestern Medical School in Dallas, internship at Baylor University Medical Center, residency at Yale again, University in New Haven, Connecticut, and a fellowship at Wilmer Eye Institute at Johns Hopkins. I'd say you know what you're doing.
Well, thank you. Very blessed to have had many good mentors and great exposure when I was going through my academic years.
Well, tell us about that. Did you, when you were going through the medical your residency and all of that, did you just know that ophthalmology was going to be your practice?
Well, I became interested in ophthalmology when I was in medical school. I didn't really have much exposure to it until my 4th year, when I took a clerkship and worked not only with people at Southwestern Medical School, but also a man named William Harris here in the community, who was a pioneer in implant surgery. And I loved the tangible nature of what was accomplished in ophthalmology. In other words, there was an intervention that was recognizable, easily recognizable for the patient, and it was a quality of life enhancement that was so rewarding to be engaged in that I really, in a sense, changed my mind. I was initially interested in going into internal medicine or a specialty branch of internal medicine. But as of the 4th year, when I was exposed to ophthalmology, I identified that as my passion. And ophthalmology, of course, offers the opportunity to be involved on the medical side with regard to diagnosis and medical treatment, infections, inflammatory problems, glaucoma, but also offers the surgical aspect. And in our case, in our practice, we specialize in cataract surgery, what's called premium lens or premium implant surgery, along with corneal treatments, glaucoma interventions, etc., but on a surgical basis, primarily cataract surgery.
Okay. Gosh. So, all right, it took you into your 4th year when you were in medical school. I'm curious about, I've always wanted to ask doctors this, when did you decide you even wanted to be a doctor?
I had a pediatrician named Floyd Norman who was very well recognized in Dallas. He was really, in a sense, one of the deans of pediatrics. And in fact, his wife, Gladys Fashina, was also a pediatrician at the medical school. I happened to train with her when I went through medical school, so that was a fun double connection. But when I was a kid and I would visit the pediatrician, I was so impressed by Dr. Norman and really so fond of him. And notwithstanding the shots that I had to get from time to time.
He made it okay?
He was just terrific. He was such a gentleman and wise, and so he had a very dignified bearing, but also easy to understand and easy to connect with. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the stimulus. That and an exposure I had to my uncle, who lived in another town, but who was an internist mm-hmm. and a family doctor, and he was also very influential in the sense that I admired him, and he was doing great work, it seemed to me, and looked like something that would be of interest to me. Also, frankly, I've always enjoyed science. So medical science, biomedical science, biology when I was a kid, all of those academic exercises were compelling to me.
You were just good at them.
Well, I was pretty good at them, and I enjoyed them, and I thought it would be good to apply that interest mm-hmm. professionally. Interesting.
What else were you interested in as a kid? Just what were you like as a little boy?
Well, I was a competitive swimmer.
Oh.
And actually, I was a pretty good competitive swimmer. I was all state and got to participate in not only national events but international events. Wow. It was a very, very demanding sport, as you can imagine. Swimming is, a lot of people regard it as somewhat monotonous in terms of the training that's required, but even as a little kid, when I was 8 or 9 years old, in workouts, I would get into the zone, so to speak, and I enjoyed workouts. I enjoyed the camaraderie of my teammates. I enjoyed being on relay teams and competing with others against other teams. And as I said, I was reasonably good at it, so it was something that came naturally. I also had great exposure then to mentors, just as I had a great medical mentor as a young man, as a kid. I also had terrific coaches in swimming who I was exposed to and derived great teaching from.
You know, mentoring is just such an important thing. Are you doing any of that now? Outside of the practice, I know you mentor every day.
Well, I have historically been involved at the medical school. I'm not doing as much of that at this point, but in the past I've been involved in surgical instruction and also some mentoring of younger physicians who come out of their training and are looking to understand what practice is like or what specialty they should choose. Oftentimes I'll get phone calls from friends or kids from family who are a part of families that I've been close to over the years who I'll mentor. So it does happen occasionally.
Like, help my son understand if he even wants to be a physician,
sure.
Right?
Sure.
You know, your practice itself, and of course I know this because it's the practice I go to, one of the things that I've noticed, and I'd like you to talk about this, on the show I always try to get people like you to maybe just pass on some things that are lessons that you've learned or things you really believe strongly about, because I just think it's so important today, Dr. Chip, which is what you go by, Dr. Chip Fagadau, to help put the word out there to anyone who is either an emerging leader or an established leader. The importance of really being clear on what they stand for, what is their brand, and what do they demonstrate every day in their work as their brand. One of the things that I've noticed from the time I became one of your patients was just the culture and how you treat people. So is there anything around that that is something you stamp into that practice as a lesson?
Well, start with the fact that any medical practice, any successful medical practice, relies on an array of individuals to deliver that care. And our general philosophy in our office is that each employee counts critically in the delivery of the service, and in the not only in the quality of the care that's delivered, but also, of course, the perception on the part of the patient with regard to the care that's being delivered or that has been delivered. For example, somebody comes into the office, the people that we have at the front desk are critical players. If you walk into a medical office and you are not greeted warmly or in a friendly manner, it's off-putting.
It is.
And so even by walking through the front door, your first exposure to our office or our care philosophy, that's got to be demonstrated by the people at the front desk. The same holds for our employees who work to get people out of the door at the exit and take care of their referrals or take care of their billing problems, etc. The technical staff in the back of the office, where I'm spending most of my time, is outstanding, and I see those people continuously through a morning or an afternoon. We are coherent in our activities and are working closely with one another to deliver the clinical care, but the administrative staff is equally important with regard to not only executing the whole process, but also in terms of delivering a message to the patient.
There you go. Yep.
So if all goes well and an individual coming into our office has difficulty at the exit, it can turn out to be in their minds a sour experience.
So it's a whole experience.
So every employee in our office is critical to the care that's being delivered and the perception that's being delivered. And any successful medical practice has got to depend on everyone in the office doing their job.
Well, not every medical practice does that. That's why I brought it up. So what do you say to your staff to build the culture, and what do you tell them and how to work with a patient or how to think about a patient? When I was in my training in medical school, before I got into ophthalmology at UT Southwestern, I had several mentors. Speaking of mentors again, I had several mentors who were absolutely outstanding. And I was very, very fortunate to work with a man named Ron Anderson. After I was working with him as a medical student, and he was on the faculty at that time in internal medicine, he was chosen to lead Parkland Hospital. So many of your listeners or viewers will know that name, Ron Anderson. He was absolutely a spectacular man, a great human being. He delivered to me several lessons that I never forgot. And one of them, actually probably the most important in terms of delivering good medical care, quality medical care, he said, treat every patient as though he or she were a family member. Oh. In other words, see your patients as family members in that you deliver the care that you would want yourself, that you would want to access yourself, or that you would want any of your family members to receive in any circumstance within the healthcare system, whatever the specialty. Yeah. And I've found that if you generally hold yourself to that, and it's not always easy, and I'm not saying that we're perfect,
But if you try to hold yourself to that standard, perforce you do well. And at the very least, you're doing your best to deliver the type of care that you would want to receive yourself.
You know, Dr. Fagadau, that's something that any business could do. I mean, what if we walked into a retailer and the clerk thought of me or you as a family member?
Right.
Wouldn't that be a different treatment?
Right.
I think that's across the board. I think that's great. And then you mentioned something that I don't know if it has anything to do with what you just said or not, but you said to me once something about demonstrating intellectual honesty. What did you mean by that? Well,
in the case of, let's say, recommending a surgical treatment, we all stay abreast of the literature. We all go to national meetings. We engage in continuing medical education. We are exposed to a wide variety of technological, or medical/clinical options. And it's important to determine, with all of that information, which road to take with regard to advising a patient or delivering a particular procedure.
I see. Okay.
So there may be a new technology, for example, that's been touted either by the company or by a given physician at a national meeting, and you study it, you talk to colleagues, you maybe explore the procedure by way of performing several of those procedures in your own office. But if everyone else is doing it in your community and you don't feel that it's appropriate, you don't feel that it's the best for the patient, you've got to be intellectually honest with yourself and with the patient.
I see.
In terms of the advice. And just because some folks are doing something in California or New York, it doesn't mean that it's the best for your patients. And intellectual honesty, when I was going through my residency training at Yale, I had a professor, actually the chairman of the department, who was very, very rigorous with us and frankly sometimes could be difficult. But he demanded intellectual integrity, intellectual honesty. He demanded straight talk. He was interested not in a lot of guesswork or a lot of supposition or what ifs. He wanted the details. He wanted the best accumulated information you could gather, and he wanted an intelligent appraisal and evaluation of that information based on learning, based on study, based on exposure to books, lectures, etc. But the information that we brought to the table needed to be organized, scrutinized, and to the best of our ability,
doing it right.
Doing it right. I mean, in other words, no nonsense.
Yeah.
No nonsense, straight talk, and being true to the patient's best interest.
Thank you. That is really clear now. And you did that when you discussed with me what procedure you were going to use. So there are some new procedures and machines and all of this. Talk to us about what is the latest and greatest, I'm going to take it very specifically, for people who are at the point where they are beginning to get cataracts or have them. Tell us about what is that intellectual integrity that you have at your office that stands out from maybe other practices?
Well, let me say this first of all. The technology in ophthalmology, this is true throughout medicine, but the technology, and I can only speak authoritatively in my own field, the technology has advanced enormously, not only over the last 30, 35 years with regard to cataract extraction and implant surgery, intraocular lens implant surgery, but even more so within the last 5 to 10 years. And by that I mean the following. When I first started in practice, implants were brand new. I mentioned Bill Harris earlier. I went into practice with him. He was a pioneer in implant surgery. And we removed the cataract, we placed an implant in the eye, we essentially restored the anatomy of the eye, the original anatomy of the eye by so doing. Okay. And we got rid of all those heavy cataract glasses that our grandparents used to wear after they had cataract surgery. The younger people in your audience won't understand or recognize this, but when I first started my training in 1979, we were removing cataracts and putting no implants in the eye, and people afterwards had to wear thick Coke bottle glasses, which themselves distorted vision. So once we could put an implant in the eye, we were essentially recreating the original anatomy of the eye. Well, those implants over the course of time have gotten better, better. So that years ago, when we would put an implant in the eye, we would know that an individual would need significant correction afterwards, meaning either spectacle correction, eyeglasses, or contact lenses. But as time has moved along here and we've evolved the implants, we're now at this point, and you're the beneficiary of this yourself, we're now able to deliver to people uncorrected, that is to say vision without glasses or contacts, uncorrected, excellent distance and reading vision simultaneously.
Amazing. And
that's a liberating function. In a sense, and I tell patients this all the time and remark it even to my wife, it's so extraordinary as we get older how few of our physical capabilities improve, right?
Never admit it.
But when you have cataract surgery with an implant, particularly these new types of implants that deliver the range of vision in an uncorrected way without glasses, you're restoring youth in a really an extraordinary fashion. So this is one of the few things in life that physically can get better for you, maybe better than it's ever been. Because we see people all the time, as you can imagine, who've been wearing glasses since they were in 3rd grade.
I bet.
And so here they are suddenly 65 years old, 70 years old, 90 years old, not wearing glasses, or wearing glasses in a very limited way.
It's just amazing.
That's a remarkable thing. And so in terms of my own original enthusiasm for ophthalmology, it has only grown over a period of time by virtue of the things we can do.
It must excite you every time you get in that surgery room.
It's a blessing to be able to do it.
Well, I have to say that it was surprising to me, and that's why I ask about the newest and greatest, what you're able to do. You said it will only take me, you, 20 minutes, and I'm thinking, oh, I just don't understand that. You're going to be operating on my eye. I mean, it was scary. I don't care what anybody says, it's scary. Well, I'm going to say to anybody that's listening, don't be scared, because that's exactly what happened. And then you said, and go home, rest a while, come back after, I think you had me come back that day around 4 hours later. And I thought, come back after I've had somebody cut my, I don't even want to go there what you did. But the exciting thing is technology has come to that point, and I just think it's incredibly, as you said, it must be incredibly gratifying to walk out of surgery and know that the patient, me in this case, is going to come back 4 hours later. And I just wanted to hug you and say thank you, because even then, it's just incredible. Well, so another thing. Let's talk about, again, just culture, any culture. It's important, I don't care what business we're in, to hire the right people. Particularly, are there any tips that you can share about how you know it's a good fit when you're hiring someone?
Well, let's start with the simple things. We're looking for people who are smart and people who are nice, right?
Hopefully they go together.
Generally, in our office, they do. And so you start with that. When you're hiring, if you've got an individual who's had extensive experience, let's say on the clinical side, on the technical side, that's clearly an added plus and can sway a decision. But we have a number of people on our staff who have been trained in our office and who have gone through credentialing in our office, came to us without that know-how, so to speak, without that experience, but were able to learn along the way and deliver great care with us and, frankly, build careers for themselves.
And they've been with you a long time.
Right. Well, we have many employees who have been with us a long time.
And that's the proof of the pudding.
Well, we're grateful for that.
Well, it goes right along with another thing that you've mentioned that helps build the culture. I'm just all about culture, because wouldn't it be wonderful if every practice in your industry, medical, and every company had the kind of culture that anybody would want to work for? And that's not the case, and I think it's important to always have leaders like you, whatever the industry is, to share how you do that. And one of the things that you also had mentioned before the show was the emphasizing of to the staff things like generosity and forgiveness. Talk to us about those kinds of things, the soft skills.
Well, the soft skills are critical. I mean, we're looking for people who understand what kindness means. Because oftentimes, well, as you put it, going through cataract surgery is anxiety-provoking, right? I mean, nobody is going to any kind of surgical procedure, especially related to their eyes. That sense of sight is so important. No one's going into that without some modicum of fear or anxiety, and it's critical that our staff be understanding of that, and that they have sort of a natural kindness. What does kindness amount to? It seems to me, largely, it comes down to a generous spirit. And a sense of embrace of the patient, a sense of looking after the well-being of the patient, of exerting oneself, going above and beyond in behalf of the patient, but also on the part of the surgeon, forgiving oneself if things don't go perfectly smoothly every minute of the day, or forgiving a staff member for a mistake, but also on the part of the staff, their level of forgiveness, to forgive their colleagues in a circumstance where a mistake has been made or inadequate attention has been applied. An idea of collaboration, that we're all in this together, and that nothing happens effectively, efficiently, or successfully without a group effort. And that, if somebody lags behind or makes a mistake, that they get a second chance. So there are people who have come to us, the people we've hired, we thought up front that they would be excellent, maybe didn't turn out to have the skills that we anticipated, but we have leadership in our office, for example, an office manager who is looking after the idea of improvement and is willing to be patient with people when they exemplify a level of dedication and commitment and a willingness to learn. Mm-hmm. There's a level of patience that we're able to offer to get them to a higher level. And that doesn't work in every circumstance, but it works in most circumstances. And so we have a lot of people in our office who have come to us super talented and super well trained, and we're grateful when that occurs. But we also have folks who have learned within our four walls and who deliver great care, and getting them to that condition hasn't necessarily been a straight line, but we've gotten them to that level nevertheless.
So career opportunities once they're there.
Career opportunities. We've had a number of people who have moved to other cities, for example, from Dallas, and have taken those skills and been very, very successful elsewhere. Or frankly, gone to other offices where there might have been a better opportunity to rise to a different position based on the learning, the experience, the opportunities they had in our office. And that's got to be, I think that message has to be clearly delivered. In other words, you got to walk the talk.
Yes, you do, and it shows if you don't.
Right.
And I think the final thing I would ask is, how do you have fun at your office? I mean, it's a physician's office. How do you make sure there's pride? We know that.
Well, first of all, I think a lot of that has to come from the physicians. We have other excellent physicians in our office. Dr. Hawk and I have been in practice together now for 33 years. Dr. Swanson joined us about 10 years ago. Dr. Mirza, our young associate, is doing a terrific job, and she's been with us now for a couple of years. But the enthusiasm and the sense of taking pleasure in what we do and enjoying what we do, I mean, that's got to be transmitted from the top. And beyond that, we, get together occasionally for outside of the office bowling parties. We bring in pizza to the office for the staff on a regular basis. I think essentially letting your staff know through your behavior that you are happy to be doing what you're doing.
That you're a fun kind of guy.
Well, that, cracking a joke now and then, but frankly, enjoying the ride.
And I think that shows. I mean, that shows in any business. You've got to just be human. So, speaking of being human, the one time that I saw that humor was Halloween, when I saw you and everyone in that office dressed up, and the doors outside had there was a contest, I think, on which door of going into the offices could be the funniest or whatever.
That kind of thing. And during the Christmas or holiday season, they decorate the doors as well. And all of that's coming, in a sense, spontaneously from the staff.
That's great.
We're encouraging it, but that's in a sense staff leadership that gets us into that kind of situation.
Because they want to party.
Right.
Doctor, if someone is so inclined to seek your practice out, where would they find you?
Well, we have a really good phone number.
All right, we have a
website, of course, but our phone number is 214-987-2020.
Okay.
2020.
Say it one more time.
214-987-2020.
Okay. Now, I promised you that we'd have fun today. Did you have fun?
Absolutely.
It wasn't difficult, was it?
No, it's a piece of cake.
I think that's the pleasure of podcasting. It's just fun, and you just talk, and you never know exactly what we're going to be talking about. I want to thank you because I know you've got a busy, busy practice, and for you to take the time to come meant a lot. So thank you.
Well, this is so much fun for me, and it's delightful to not only have been able to work with you in my office where you were a patient, but you're a wonderful conversationalist, and I appreciate the opportunity to enjoy that as well.
Thank you. We might just have to have you back.
Thank you.
Well, we've talked about a whole lot of things, and I think you will agree with me that the concepts and just the discussion around what any practice or company or firm can do to stay the course in keeping it a place where people will enjoy working, because if we enjoy getting up in the morning and we have that little flame inside of us that says, oh, I've got another day where I can go someplace and know I'm bringing value. That's the number one motivator for anyone who's working anywhere, is to feel valued. So, Dr. Chip, that's the kind of practice you have. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
All the continued successes. And until next time, just keep in mind, this is the kind of work when we think about what does Valerie and Company do. I'm going to make it simple. I help companies and individuals do it right. It's just that simple. So give me a call too, or email at valerie@valerieandcompany.com. Until next time, stay authentic, be real, and build your brand. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening. To receive Valerie's voice, free monthly leadership tips, and to learn more about her leadership programs and coaching, visit her website, valerieandcompany.com. Next week, we'll be here again to inspire, engage, and equip you with teachable points of view from successful leaders who have been doing it right. Until then, lead authentically.